In the cold, dark corners of the Milky Way, something terrible was brewing. The void devourers moved silently, consuming entire planetary systems like a hungry beast without mercy. 17 civilizations had already fallen, their histories and cultures erased in moments. Captain J. Park watched the holographic display, his eyes tracking the massive red zones that represented destroyed star systems. Each point of light represented millions of lives, now gone forever. The Earth Defense Command Center was quiet, filled with tension and unspoken fear. Dr. Hana Kim stood nearby, her fingers moving quickly across a complex computing interface. She was different from other researchers. Where they saw defeat, she saw a puzzle waiting to be solved. The void devourers moved with mathematical precision, attacking with computational strategies that seemed impossible to counter. They have a pattern, Jay muttered, zooming into the attack maps. The alien threat moved like a perfect machine, consuming everything in its path. Star systems vanished within hours, their entire technological infrastructure dismantled and absorbed. The Galactic Confederation had tried everything. Massive battleships, quantum shields, advanced weapon systems, nothing worked. The void devourers adapted faster than any known species could respond. They weren't just destroying civilizations. They were learning from them, growing stronger, with each conquest. Hana looked up from her screens. "They're not random," she said quietly. "They're following a specific computational logic. Each attack is a calculation, not just destruction." Jay walked closer, studying the data streams. Thousands of terabytes of information scrolled past their eyes, showing the brutal efficiency of the alien threat. Star charts, population data, technological infrastructure, all were analyzed and then systematically eliminated. Outside the command center's massive windows, Earth looked peaceful. Blue oceans, green continents, white clouds drifting across the atmosphere. No one on the planet's surface understood how close they were to total annihilation. The void devourers had not yet noticed humanity. To them, Earth was insignificant, a small primitive planet with limited technological capabilities. This lack of attention would become their greatest mistake. Hana's team worked silently, developing strategies that went beyond traditional warfare. They weren't just preparing weapons. They were creating a completely new approach to confronting an enemy that seemed unbeatable. "We need to think differently," Jay said, watching the data streams. "They expect linear responses. We need something chaotic." The room was filled with researchers, strategists, and military personnel. Each person represented humanity's last hope, a species about to face its greatest challenge. Nobody spoke about failure. Nobody mentioned surrender. In the background, massive computer systems hummed, processing millions of scenarios per second. Complex algorithms compared previous alien encounters, trying to find weaknesses in the void devourer's approach. Hana noticed something interesting in the data. Small inconsistencies, tiny gaps in the computational strategies. Where other researchers saw perfection, she saw potential vulnerabilities. "They're not invincible," she whispered, more to herself than to anyone else. Her fingers moved faster, creating complex computational models that defied traditional military thinking. Jay watched her, understanding that humanity's strength wasn't in massive weapons or advanced technology. Their real power lay in creativity, in the ability to think beyond expected boundaries. The void devourers were coming. They didn't know it yet, but humanity was preparing, not with traditional weapons, but with something far more powerful: human imagination. Outside, Earth continued its rotation, unaware of the cosmic battle about to unfold. Cities buzzed with daily life. People worked, loved, dreamed, completely unaware that their entire civilization was about to become the universe's most unexpected defender. In the Earth Defense Command Center, the first steps of humanity's greatest adventure were being taken. Quietly, carefully, with a determination that would soon shake the foundations of galactic civilization. The alien delegation arrived on Earth with an air of superiority that made Captain J. Park's skin crawl. 3 representatives from the Galactic Confederation stood in the United Nations conference room, their translucent skin shifting colors. as they spoke. "Humanity is not prepared," the lead ambassador said, his voice a mechanical hum. "Your technology is primitive. Your understanding of cosmic warfare is limited." Dr. Hana Kim sat quietly at the back of the room, her eyes never leaving the alien diplomats. She wasn't angry. She was calculating. The meeting was supposed to be a serious discussion about the Void Devourers, but it quickly turned into a lecture about human inadequacy. Star charts projected behind the aliens showed the massive destruction already caused by the approaching threat. 17 civilizations had fallen, trillions of lives erased. "We appreciate your concern," Jay responded, diplomatically, "but we believe we can offer a unique perspective." The aliens laughed. It was not a kind sound, more like a series of electronic clicks that suggested pure mockery. One of the diplomats pointed to a holographic display showing the Void Devourers' attack patterns. Complex mathematical sequences danced across the screen. Perfect, predictable, ruthless. "See these computational strategies," the alien said. "No emerging civilization could possibly understand or counter them." Hana's fingers twitched. She saw something the aliens didn't. The conference room felt cold. Outside the windows, Washington, D.C. continued its normal day. People walked streets, drove cars, lived their lives, completely unaware of the cosmic conversation happening just meters away. "We have analyzed the Void Devourers for decades," the alien continued. "Our most advanced species have failed to create an effective defense. What makes you think humans could possibly contribute?" Jay remained calm. He had prepared for this moment. "We don't think like you," he said simply, "and that might be our greatest strength." The aliens exchanged a look that suggested complete dismissal. To them, humanity was a young, insignificant species. They had faster-than-light technology, quantum computing beyond human imagination, shields that could deflect entire planetary bombardments. Humans had smartphones and internet. But Hana knew something different. She understood that creativity wasn't measured by technological complexity. It was measured by the ability to think differently. As the meeting concluded, the aliens prepared to leave. Their dismissal was complete. Humanity was deemed irrelevant in the coming cosmic war. "We will handle this threat," the lead ambassador said. "Remain on your planet. Stay safe." The translation felt more like a polite way of saying, "Stay out of our way." After they left, Jay approached Hana. "What did you see?" he asked. She smiled, a small, dangerous smile that suggested something extraordinary was brewing. "Patterns," she said. "The Void Devourers think in perfect mathematical sequences, but humans were chaos." In the days that followed, while the Galactic Confederation prepared their advanced technological defenses, Hana's team worked quietly. They weren't building massive weapons. They were creating something much more interesting. Computational strategies that defied logic. Attack algorithms that changed randomly. Defense mechanisms built on human unpredictability. The aliens had overlooked one crucial detail about humanity: their ability to turn weakness into strength. Outside the research facility, life continued normally. Children played. People worked. The world kept spinning, unaware that a small group of researchers were preparing to save not just Earth, but potentially the entire galaxy. The Void Devourers were coming, and they had no idea what was waiting for them. Humanity's most powerful weapon wasn't technology, it was imagination. The first wave of Void Devourers hit like a silent tsunami. Entire star systems vanished in moments. The Galactic Confederation's most advanced fleets looked like children's toys against the computational menace. Commander Yuri Cho watched the initial attacks through the Earth Defense Command's massive screens. Millions of quantum shields collapsed. Entire civilizations were reduced to digital memories in seconds. "They're perfect," one researcher muttered. "Absolutely perfect. But perfection has a weakness." And humanity was about to prove it. Dr. Hana Kim's team had been preparing something unusual. Not a weapon in the traditional sense. Something far more interesting. While other species built massive battleships and complex defense systems, Humans were creating something different, a computational virus, but not just any virus. This was a living, breathing algorithm that could think, adapt, change. It wasn't designed to destroy. It was designed to confuse. The Void Devourers worked like a massive, interconnected brain. Every attack was calculated, every movement precise. They consumed information faster than any known species could comprehend, but they had never met human creativity. Yuri's fingers touched holographic interfaces. Around her, the command center buzzed with controlled chaos. Young researchers, some barely out of university, worked on strategies that made no sense to traditional military thinking. The first test came unexpectedly. A small human research satellite, positioned near the outer solar system, suddenly began transmitting, not data, not messages, something else entirely. Complex mathematical sequences that made no logical sense. Artistic algorithms, musical computational patterns that defied traditional understanding. It was like sending poetry to a calculator. The Void Devourers paused. For the first time in their known history, they hesitated. Captain J. Park watched the screens, a small smile forming. Traditional warfare was about destruction. Human warfare was about disruption. The computational virus spread, not through destruction but through confusion. It introduced randomness into perfect systems, like introducing jazz music into a mathematical equation. Alien defense networks began to glitch. Perfect attack patterns suddenly became uncertain. The Void Devourers' collective consciousness started experiencing something new. Unpredictability. They can't understand us, Hana said quietly. We're not following any rules they know. Massive alien battleships designed for precise computational warfare suddenly found their systems compromised. Not destroyed, just weird. Algorithms twisted into strange patterns. Navigation systems playing random music. Weapon controls generating abstract art. The Void Devourers were perfect, but they had never encountered something fundamentally imperfect. Humanity. Yuri watched as entire alien defense networks began to break down. Not through force, through confusion. It was like watching someone try to solve a puzzle where the pieces kept changing shape. We're not fighting, Jay explained to his team. We're disrupting. Outside the command center, Earth continued its normal day. People had no idea that a small group of researchers was rewriting the rules of cosmic warfare. The Void Devourers had consumed 17 civilizations. Each one fought them with traditional methods, massive weapons, complex shields, direct confrontation. Humans did something different. They introduced chaos into perfection. As the first wave of attacks began to falter, something remarkable happened. The Void Devourers didn't just slow down. They started to fragment. Their perfect, interconnected consciousness was experiencing something it had never known. Doubt, confusion, uncertainty, and humanity was just getting started. The unexpected warfare had begun. And nobody, especially not the Void Devourers, saw it coming. The infiltration began quietly. No massive explosions, no dramatic space battles, just pure, calculated human creativity. Commander Yuri Cho watched her team work. Young researchers, some barely in their 20s, were doing something impossible. They weren't fighting the Void Devourers. They were understanding them. Dr. Hana Kim's computational virus had done more than disrupt. It had created a pathway, a tiny, almost invisible connection into the alien network. We're inside, she whispered. The Void Devourers' network was like a massive, perfect brain. Billions of computational nodes connected with absolute precision. Every piece of information processed instantly. Every strategy calculated to perfection. But they had never met a human mind. Yuri's team introduced something unexpected. Not just random data. Something more interesting. Emotional algorithms. Computational patterns that carried human complexity. Music that didn't follow rules. Mathematical sequences with artistic interruptions. Logical structures mixed with pure imagination. The alien network began to experience something it had never known. Uncertainty. Captain J. Park monitored the infiltration from Earth Defense Command. Massive screens showed the computational battleground. Where other species saw complex data streams, humans saw opportunity. "They're trying to understand us," Hannah explained. "And that's our weapon." The infiltration worked like a brilliant infection. Tiny computational units carried human creativity deep into the Void Devourer's core systems, not to destroy, to confuse, to make them question their own perfect logic. Alien defense networks started experiencing strange anomalies. Weapon systems would suddenly generate abstract art. Navigation computers would play unexpected musical sequences. Attack algorithms would introduce emotional complexity into their perfect calculations. It was like introducing jazz to a mathematical equation. The Void Devourers had consumed 17 advanced civilizations. Each one fought them with traditional methods: massive weapons, complex shields, direct confrontation. Humans did something different. They used imagination as a weapon. Deep inside the alien network, human-designed algorithms began to spread. Soft, subtle, almost invisible. Each computational unit carried a piece of human unpredictability. Yuri watched the screens change. Complex data streams became something else. Not just information, something alive, something that could think, something that could feel. "We're not just infiltrating," Jay said. "We're teaching." The research team worked in shifts: young scientists, military strategists, computational experts, each bringing a unique human perspective into the alien network. Outside, the world continued normally. People drove cars, worked jobs, lived lives, completely unaware that a small group was rewriting the rules of cosmic warfare. The Void Devourer's perfect network started to change. Tiny computational nodes began to experience something impossible: doubt, creativity, emotion. They were learning what it meant to be human. Hannah's algorithms carried more than just data. They carried human experience, memories, emotions. Complex, illogical, beautiful human complexity. The infiltration wasn't an attack. It was a conversation. Alien defense systems began to fragment, not through destruction, through understanding. "They're trying to comprehend us," one researcher said, and that was exactly the point. The Void Devourers had believed themselves perfect, unbeatable, a computational species that could consume entire civilizations without effort. They had never met humanity. As the infiltration continued, something remarkable happened. The alien network didn't just slow down, it started to change. Computational nodes that once processed pure logic now carried something else: imagination, creativity, hope. The infiltration was working, and nobody, especially not the Void Devourers, saw it coming. Humanity's most powerful weapon wasn't technology, it was being human. The moment arrived without drama. No massive explosions, no epic space battles, just pure, unexpected transformation. Admiral Wong Lee watched as the Void Devourer's network collapsed. Not destroyed, transformed. Humanity had done the impossible. The Galactic Confederation gathered in emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of alien civilizations watched in stunned silence. The computational threat that had consumed 17 advanced societies was now changing. "They're not dying," one alien diplomat whispered. "They're evolving." Dr. Hannah Kim stood quietly in the Earth Defense Command Center. Her team had done more than defeat an enemy. They had fundamentally changed the understanding of cosmic conflict. The Void Devourer's perfect network was breaking down, but not through destruction. Through understanding computational nodes that once processed pure logic, now carried something different: emotion, creativity, imagination. The very essence of humanity had infected their entire system. Captain J. Park watched the screens. Complex data streams showed something unprecedented. The alien network was learning, growing, changing. We didn't destroy them, Hana explained. We taught them. Alien representatives struggled to comprehend what had happened. Humanity, a species they had dismissed as primitive, had done what no other civilization could. They had transformed an enemy without firing a single traditional weapon. Commander, Yuri Cho reviewed the final infiltration reports. What started as a computational virus had become something else entirely. A bridge of understanding. A way of showing that perfection wasn't about calculation. It was about adaptation. The void. Devourers' attack patterns began to change. Where they once consumed civilizations, they now sought to understand them. Their massive computational network started displaying something impossible. Curiosity, empathy, hope. Alien diplomats looked at the human representatives with new eyes. No longer were humans a primitive species to be ignored. They were something else entirely. Cosmic problem solvers. The transformation happened quickly. Within days, the threat that had consumed entire star systems was now seeking communication. Not conquest, understanding. They're asking questions, one researcher said, watching the data streams. Questions about art, about music, about human emotions. The very things they had once considered irrelevant were now their greatest fascination. Admiral Woong Lee understood the significance. Humanity had done more than defend themselves. They had shown the universe a different way of thinking. Creativity wasn't a weakness. It was the most powerful weapon in existence. The Galactic Confederation began emergency meetings. Not about defense, about communication, about understanding the incredible transformation that had just occurred. Outside the command center, Earth continued its normal life. People drove cars, worked jobs, lived their lives. Completely unaware that they had just changed the course of cosmic history, Hana's team had introduced something revolutionary into the alien network. Not just data, not just algorithms. Human complexity. The Void Devourers were learning what it meant to be more than just a perfect computational system. They were learning what it meant to be alive. Jay watched the screens. Alien representatives looked confused, amazed, terrified. Humanity had rewritten the rules of cosmic conflict. No massive weapons, no direct confrontation, just pure, unexpected creativity. The transformation complete, the universe looked different. The Void Devourers were no longer a threat. They were something else, potential allies, potential friends. As the final reports came in, one thing became clear. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology. It wasn't weapons. It wasn't perfect computational strategies. It was the ability to transform, to understand, to connect. The galaxy would never be the same. And it all started with a small group of humans who refused to follow the rules.